Okay, we are live. Hola a todos, ¿cómo estamos? Espero que bien. Let's do a quick technology check because this is this is what always goes wrong. So, welcome everybody. If you could just look for the chat box in your screen over here or over here somewhere, and if you could just type in and let me know if you can hear me and see me okay, that would be great. That way I know that everything's working fine. And then as soon as we confirm that, we can get started. Hi, Shirley. Hi, Joanne. And Mary Jo. You both on the same computer? Donna, Mary, Heather, Nancy. Oh, lots of people here. Fantastic. How is everyone doing? ¿Cómo está? Respóndeme en español. Let me know how you are in Spanish, please, whilst we're waiting for everybody to come on. Bueno, empezamos entonces. Díganme también dónde están en el mundo. ¿Están en España? ¿Están en Sudamérica? ¿Están en Estados Unidos? ¿En Japón? ¿Por dónde están? Normalmente tenemos varias personas en España, en las Canarias, también en Colombia, México, por ahí. Donna está en Irlanda, Nicolás en Guadalajara. Gales, wow. Está lloviendo en Gales como aquí en Londres. Valencia, Panamá, fantástico. Okay, well, let's get started. Everything seems to be working fine. I'm going to switch over to my slides now because my slides are more interesting than my face. And so perhaps you can just let me know in a second whether you can see them okay. I'm just switching over now. Shirley says she moved to Spain 12 months ago and her Spanish is basic. Shirley, we've all been there. We've all started from the beginning. So just let me know that you can see my slides okay. And then we're ready to go. John says, okay. You're referring to the slides, John? All right then. Jeffrey says, está bien. Bueno, perfecto. Empezamos entonces. All right then, so a quick word about these classes. These are regular Spanish workshops that I'm running, and we focus on mastering problem areas of Spanish. The subjunctive is a problem area. I'm sure you know about that. And the focus here is to think like a local. So what I'm trying to do here is to teach you the ways of thinking that will lead you to become a more confident, fluent speaker. This is not about learning rules. This is about learning to think like native speakers. Does that sound like the right kind of thing? Does that sound like what you're expecting? Go ahead and let me know. So we're focused on the subjunctive, and here's my aim for the class. And at the end of the class, I'm going to ask you to judge me on this aim, okay? There's nowhere to hide for me here. You're going to tell me whether I meet my aim or not. You will gain a native-like understanding of the subjunctive in Spanish such that you know exactly when to use it, for what purpose, and without the need for rules. Does that sound good? That's my aim. And by the end, you can tell me whether or not I've reached it. What we're not going to cover in this class is the conjugations of verbs in the subjunctive. Okay, because these are things that you can look up easily yourself. What we're going to be focusing on here is how to exactly when to use it and for what purpose. Okay, because once you know that, then that removes so much of the stress around using it. Emma is asking how long the class will be. I'm going to aim for about 45-50 minutes, Emma. So we should be done within the hour. Right, so the subjunctive, as you know, is usually taught with rules. And what's quite typical to see in Spanish textbooks and in classes is something along the lines of, well, this verb takes the subjunctive, so go away and learn all of them. Okay, learn all of the different combinations, the different verbs and expressions that take the subjunctive, and you have to just memorize them. How many of you have seen little pages like this that you can see on the screen here? And how would you like it if by the end of this class, you never have to look at these annoying subjunctive verb tables again? Does that sound good? This is an online class, obviously, so it's really critical that you do interact. If I ask you a question, please do type in the answer. I promise you it will help you retain the information better if you do. If you just sit there and don't reply and don't interact, you will find it much harder to learn. And so to that end, please also turn off your phones, shut down your email, kick out the cat, whatever it may be that will be a source of distraction. I want you to make the most out of your hour today. So that's the best way to make sure that you're not unduly distracted. So quickly about me, my name is Olly Richards. I speak 8 languages, but I've learned all of these languages as an adult, so I know what it's like. I ran educational programs for many years for the British Council. I have a master's degree in linguistics, worked with the Open University, lots more besides. I deliver live language workshops around the world. I've published books, many books with the publishers Teach Yourself, many of which have gone on to become very, very popular. And so with that, that's enough about me. Let's move on to the meat of the class. Quick note as well, if you do type in questions for me, feel free. I don't always see them immediately as I'm actually delivering the lesson because I've got my screen open. So what I tend to do is I kind of come back in every now and again to look at questions. So there might be a little bit of a delay there. So let's talk about the subjunctive. What is the subjunctive? Do we have the subjunctive in English? Many people would say, no, we don't, but in fact we do. And this is what it looks like. In English, you might say, I suggest that he study harder. Is it really necessary that we be there? So as you can see, this is quite high-level English. Not everybody speaks like this, but you'll recognize it when you see it. You've heard people speak like this before. You may speak in this way yourself. It's an older way of speaking in English that is probably slowly on the way out, I think. But nevertheless, that's what it is. In Spanish, it is a fundamental part of the language. Okay, so you might see something like this: Quiero que vayas al banco. I want you to go to the bank. Or dudo que tenga mi número de teléfono. I doubt that he has my telephone number. Okay, so this is what it looks like, and I've bolded the verbs here because the verb is in Spanish the thing that's going to tell you if it's the subjunctive or not. So that is as close as we're going to get to a rule here today. The subjunctive, here's how I think about it. Rules for the subjunctive are not necessary because, here's why. The subjunctive in Spanish, it's like a mood that you play with. Have you ever seen the movie Lord of the Rings? When Gandalf, this character, appears in the movie, he creates this certain mood. He evokes this very kind of mystical, magical mood. And when you know how to use the subjunctive, you can deploy it to evoke feelings and create a very particular mood in Spanish. All right, so rather than learn rules, what we're going to do is we're going to learn to think like a Spanish person so that you instinctively know when to use the subjunctive, and you can speak Spanish more freely and accurately and sound much more like a native speaker. And, this mood is something we're going to come back to a lot. So right now, I want to show you the only thing that you need to keep in mind when you're going to decide whether to use the subjunctive or not. Okay, when we boil it down, there are just 2 things. If we are dealing with certainty and truth, you don't use the subjunctive. However, as soon as any doubt or uncertainty creeps into your mind, then you probably need to use the subjunctive. Now, we're going to look at a lot of examples, specific examples during the class, okay? So, but it all boils down to this at the end of the day. Now, here's an image related to this I want you to keep in your head. Here is a beautiful country road. I don't know where this is actually, because I pulled this picture from the internet. It looks very nice, doesn't it? It's a long, straight road. And I want you to think about this road as representing truth and certainty. It's the straight and narrow, if you like. This is the road of truth. Now, as long as you follow this road, then there's no doubt in your mind whatsoever that you'll reach your true destination. Your destination is at the end of this road. However, if you deviate from the road, you don't know what is going to happen. So off the road, in the bushes and the trees, lives uncertainty and doubt. And this is represented by the subjunctive in Spanish. Now, as we go through the class today, I'm not going to ask you to remember any rules about the subjunctive. All you need to do is to relate the examples I'm going to give you in Spanish to this image and to think about the level of certainty and truth in each example. Okay, so for example, let's look at this image here. So, John goes to school. This is an English phrase. This is a fact. It's the truth, and it's right down the middle of the road. Okay, and the equivalent of this in Spanish is Juan va a la escuela. This is a statement of fact, and so we're going to consider this to be the truth. And the way that we know whether this is the subjunctive or not is by the verb. Okay, so John goes and Juan va in Spanish. Okay, so in this case, because we're dealing with certainty and truth, we don't need the subjunctive. Now, think of this as our control sample. Okay, this is our starting point, our baseline. What we're going to do now for the rest of the class is go through to look at lots of different cases which are not as simple as this, so we can start to see when the subjunctive works. Okay, are you with me so far? Go ahead and write sí or no into the chat box, and I will check to see whether I've lost you already or whether that all makes sense so far. Do you understand this concept of certainty and truth versus uncertainty and doubt? Let me know whether that makes sense to you. And if it does, we can carry on. Okay, Austin, Yashika, Robin, Nicole, Claire, you all say sí. Susa, sí with you. Okay, fantastic. All right then. So let's get into the details. So we're going to look at 3 different ways to use the subjunctive, and it is these 3 things. We're going to cover commands, requests, and desires, possibility and doubt, and negation. But remember, you don't have to memorize this stuff. I just want to put it on the map so that you know what's coming. So let's begin with this sentence here. Tell John to go to school. Now, this is a classic example of something that is simple in English, but not so simple in Spanish. In Spanish, we need to use the subjunctive when we say this. Okay? Why? Why do we need to use the subjunctive? Well, we told John to go to school. Okay? We've told him to do it. We've gone to John and we said, John, go to school. But here's my question for you, and I want you to type in the answer. Is there any guarantee that John is actually going to go to school? Go ahead and write yes or no in the chat box. Even though we say here, tell John to go to school, is there any guarantee he's actually going to go? Okay, yeah, so Nancy, Dorothy say no. Right. So John might easily decide not to go, or he might end up somewhere else altogether. He might just bunk off and go to the cinema. So this is classic uncertainty, okay? And it's this element of uncertainty that yanks us right off the road and into the bushes over there on the side. Right? And then from that point, we have no idea what's going to happen. So can you see how in this example, we are introducing an element of uncertainty? We're introducing an element of the unknown. And the most helpful way, when it comes to the subjunctive, the most helpful way I found to think about this is when the subjunctive evokes this mood of uncertainty, right? And this mood helps you make decisions about whether to use it or not. So, tell John to go to school, but because, and this is where you're going to see it why we don't need to know any rules, okay? Because tell John to go to school. I hope John goes to school. I want John to go to school. It doesn't really matter what verb you use at the beginning here. Can you see how it really, whatever you say, whatever word you use at the beginning, it doesn't really matter, because what we're doing when we're creating this sentence is we're focusing on this principle of certainty or uncertainty. Okay, does that make sense? So whether I'm going to say, tell John to go to school, I hope John goes to school, I want John to go to school. In Spanish, you're going to use the subjunctive because there's that element of certainty. All right. So quick question to Ian. Is this going to be the same one, the same training we have inside the Fluent Spanish Academy? Yeah, Ian, this is going to be exactly the same. You're obviously welcome to stay and have a refresher if you like, but this is a training that you will have already seen. So if you have other things to do, then that would be great. Apologies if you've come expecting something else, but no, it's the same training that you've already seen. Okay. All right, then. So let's have a look at how, now that we know we're going to use the subjunctive in Spanish, let's go on to look at exactly what that looks like. All right. So tell John to go to school. Go ahead and type in your best guess for how we would say this in Spanish. I'm going to sit here and wait. And again, guys, this is a no holds barred environment. So if you make mistakes, I want you to make mistakes because that's how you learn. Okay, so go ahead and type in your best guess. It doesn't matter if it's wrong, but I want you to just go through and go ahead and type in your best guess, because by doing that, that's how you're going to when you get the correct answer, you're going to find it easier to remember. Okay, so Sas, just remember we're translating this literally. Okay, so this is someone saying to someone else, "Tell John to go to school." It's what we're not saying here is, "John, go to school." No, we're saying, "Tell John to go to school." All right, let's see if we've got a correct answer here. Okay, lots of okay. Astrid's got the right answer here, so I'll just broadcast this. Dile a John que vaya a la escuela. Very good. Okay. So, here we go. Dile a Juan que vaya a la escuela. All right. Now, I hope John goes to school. I'll move more quickly through these. So we say, espero que Juan vaya a la escuela. I want John to go to school. Quiero que Juan vaya a la escuela. Okay. Now remember, if you are taking a rules-based approach, right, like you're going to find in any textbook, what the textbook is going to tell you is to memorize all of these sentence heads, right? So dile or espero que, quiero que, and they're going to tell you to memorize all those, and they're going to say, okay, memorize these and memorize that if you do any of these, it will take the subjunctive. But what I'm telling you very specifically here is that you don't need to memorize those, because in each of these cases, there is uncertainty about whether it's actually going to happen. I hope, I want, tell him to. It has no bearing on whether or not he's actually going to do it. So this gets to Bill's question here, who said, so Bill says, I told John to go to school is a fact. Yes, it's a fact. There's no doubt. How do you decide if there's a doubt about what was said or if he went to school? Okay, so Bill, it is a fact that you told John to go to school, but it's not a fact that he went. Okay, and that is why we use the subjunctive. Okay, because it's the verb in question, it's the vaya or the verb ir, to go. And that's what you want him to do, but the fact that there is doubt there is why that goes into the subjunctive. All right, so it's not a fact that you told him, it's a fact that you can't be certain that he's going to do it. All right, that's the action that's uncertain. If that's not clear right now, don't worry, we're going to go through more examples and then you will see. So what I want you all to do is to simply focus on the fact that it's uncertain. And so we're veering off the road. All right? Okay. So that's commands, requests, and desires. Now let's move on to possibilities and doubts. This is where actually what you're going to find is if you're with me so far, if you followed the first part of this, then it just gets easier from here. All right. So let's look at this sentence here. It's possible that John goes to school. So a question for you guys, I want you to type in the answer. Is John definitely going to school? Are we certain? Sí or no? Type it into the chat box for me, please. You see how this is much easier now, isn't it? Are we certain that John is going to school? Yes, we're not, exactly. So because we're not certain, that means we have to use a subjunctive because that's taking us right off the straight and narrow into the bushes. So in this case, we're talking about possibility. So it should be obvious that John might not go to school. Right now, let's broaden this out a bit now. It's possible that John goes to school. I doubt John will go to school. I don't believe John will go to school. So again, let me ask you, in any of these cases, is there any doubt? Or is there any uncertainty whatsoever that John will go to school? Obviously there is, right? In each of these sentences, we don't know whether or not it's going to happen. So again, it doesn't matter what words you use at the beginning here. It's possible. I doubt. I don't believe. It's all irrelevant. Because we can't be sure whether John's going to go to school, then that verb to go is what is going to change to the subjunctive. Okay, you with me? So when you first start speaking Spanish and you're translating from English, you don't spot the nature of the uncertainty here, right? You just speak like you do in English. But it's when you start to move into a Spanish world, when you start to develop this finely tuned sensor to the world of certainty, that's when this mood is invoked. So if you find that you're someone that tends to translate in your head with Spanish, or if you often kind of translate from English to Spanish, then you might struggle slightly more with this concept because you're used to thinking in terms of the English. But what we really need to do here is actually to start to think in terms of the Spanish. And this is why I'm really hammering home this concept of uncertainty and doubt, because this is how a Spanish speaker speaks. You know that feeling when you're driving down the road and you can feel you're going quite fast, right? And you can feel the car veering off to the side of the road and you start to panic a little bit, right? It's just like that with Spanish, except you're veering off to the side whenever you become uncertain that something will definitely happen. All right, so let's have a look at how this is going to work. So it's possible that John goes to school. Let's have some guesses at how you would say this in Spanish, please. I think there was one that came out earlier. I've got to see a few correct answers already. I'd like a few more people just to have a quick guess, and then I'll let you know. Robin's got it right. David. Sash is listing them all out there. Good stuff. Yeah. Okay, so es posible que Juan vaya a la escuela. I doubt John will go to school. Have a crack at this one. So again, remember, as you're having your guess here, remember that there are two verbs in this sentence, right? There is I doubt and there is go. But the one that is in question here is the verb to go. Okay, so I can see that Mark, well, I was going to highlight Mark's comment there, but it's moving so quickly that I missed it. So yeah, dudo que Juan vaya a la escuela. And then lastly, I don't believe John will go to school. Go ahead, couple of quick guesses on this one, please. I don't believe that John will go to school. This should be getting quite straightforward now that you've spotted the pattern. So Ronaldo says, no creo que Juan vaya a la escuela. Very good. No creo que Juan vaya a la escuela. So you're all getting it right, guys. So let me ask you a question. Which is easier? Learning the rules for which individual verbs or expressions take the subjunctive, or just learning this concept of certainty and uncertainty, which is more useful, which is easier. Yeah, it is significantly easier, right? And because it just removes all of the palaver over kind of learning, or kind of rote learning, all these lists of expressions and all of that. Yeah. So as Jeffrey says, Robin says, el concepto. This is how natives. This is why native speakers can use the subjunctive so effortlessly. It's not because they've memorized lists. It's because they are very familiar with the concept. All right. This is why I love doing these classes as well, because I can show you how we can take massive shortcuts and save you years of study when you actually understand the way that native speakers actually think. All right, then, so let's move on now to negation. We've done commands, requests, and desires. We've done possibility and doubts. Now we're going to move on to negation. Right, now this one is a little bit more tricky. So look at these two sentences. Now, a question for you, and I want you to type in the answer, please. What is the difference between these two sentences in terms of their relationship to the truth? So once again, what is the difference between these two sentences in terms of their relationship to the truth? See if you can explain this to me here. So remember we were talking earlier about a factual statement, something that is clearly true, where there is no doubt, will not take the subjunctive. But then anything that has an element of doubt will. So what's the difference between these two sentences here? And you're gonna, with the second one, you're gonna have to dig a little bit deeper. So, okay, so as at first, many of you guys are saying the first one is a fact, right? So John didn't go to school. That's a fact. We know that John didn't go to school. When we say John didn't go to school, is there any uncertainty there? Or is it clear as the light of day? It's clear, right? We know that. So there's no need for the subjunctive. We're just going to say it straight up. John didn't go to school. Now, for the second one, you guys are saying slightly different things. Some of you are saying it's an opinion, subjective. Yes, well, that's true. But I want to dig down a little bit deeper here for you. So there are two parts to the second sentence. Okay, so number one is a fact. And in the second sentence here, there are two parts. The first part is, I deny that. And the second part is, John went to school. Do you see how there are two different parts to that sentence? So again, with the relationship to the truth here, what's going on in part one and part two of this sentence? What are we doing to part two? What are we having to do in this sentence? Nancy's getting pretty close. But Nancy says she thinks that John didn't go to the school is uncertain. Yeah, so Nancy said we're negating it. Exactly. So what's happening here is that we're saying, I deny that. What are we denying? We're denying that John went to school. All right, so it's this part here, John went to school. This is the part that's under dispute. We're having to deny it. This micro statement here is clearly a bit dubious, so that's why it ends up off the road, right? So let's have a look at how this translates into Spanish. So first of all, John didn't go to school. We have Juan no fue a la escuela. This is not the subjunctive. This is just a straight up sentence. Juan no fue a la escuela. Now, I want some guesses, please, for I deny that John went to school. This is tricky. There is, because we're working in the past tense here. So for those of you who are a bit more advanced, we're going to have a guess here. Just remember that we're going to use the subjunctive, right? But we're going to use the the imperfect subjunctive. And again, this doesn't really matter because whatever subjunctive you use, it's going to be understood. So Ronaldo, you're almost right, but there's a slight conjugation mistake there with your first verb. Okay, so guest is giving us a couple of great examples. Yeah, okay, so this is what it looks like. Niego que Juan fuera a la escuela. So the verb to doubt is, to deny, is negar, but when we conjugate it, it becomes niego que. Niego que Juan fuera a la escuela. So that fuera, this is also the subjunctive. It's like vaya, but it's in the past. Don't worry about that too much because although it's if you said niego que Juan vaya a la escuela, although technically that's wrong, again, your point is going to get across perfectly. What we're focusing on here is knowing when to use the subjunctive. Right, so one is a statement of fact. Juan no fue a la escuela. It's a statement of fact. And then the second one is a denial of the fact. Niego que, I deny that, Juan fuera a la escuela. And because we're denying that John went to school, it has to be in the subjunctive. Right, so let's have another example here. He is not here. This is a fact, right? Now, what about this? I don't think he's here. He's not here. We can all agree that's a fact. Yeah, there's no doubt there. But when we're saying, I don't think he's here, again, what are we doing? It's very similar to the last example. What are we doing here? What are we saying? Right, we are bringing into doubt the idea that he's here. Right? We don't think it's happening. We're casting a shadow of doubt on it. And in Spanish, that is enough. Okay, do you see how just the hint of doubt is enough to bring in this subjunctive mood with Gandalf riding down off the top of the mountain? Okay, so we are negating, we're casting doubt over the idea that he's here as a negation of a fact or something that is not true. Okay, so in Spanish then, we've got he's not here, no está aquí. And then, so then, guesses please, how do we say this? I don't think he's here. I've seen a few examples already. Sharon says she's guessing. That's absolutely fine, Sharon. I love guesses because it's by guessing that we improve. Just give you a couple of seconds to. Some of you, again, who are more advanced, just check your accent. Make sure you've got accents, your tilde in the right place. Maybe you're not sure how to do it on the keyboard, which is a common problem. Okay, so we're going to say, no creo que esté aquí. And remember, we have to say esté, not este, because if you say este, that means this. No creo que esté aquí. I don't think he's here. And we're using the subjunctive because we're casting doubts over the idea that he's here. All right then, is that clear? Is the concept, the root concept of when we're choosing the subjunctive clear? Don't worry if you don't know all the conjugations right now. Those will come very, very quickly once you start to use it. Don't worry if you don't know the difference between the present and the imperfect subjunctive. Again, that you will start to spot this everywhere once you pay attention. Okay, so Sass says the concept is clear. Fantastic. Mark says clearest explanation ever. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that. Good. There's a lot of C going on. Brilliant. So, guys, now you know the rest. At this stage, I could just give you a bunch more rules and I could give you a bunch more examples, but I have a sneaking suspicion that actually you now know everything that you need. So shall we see Shall we see whether I'm right or not? This test now is going to be the proof of the pudding. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to show you 6 phrases. And these are 6 phrases which, in a typical Spanish textbook, you would be asked to memorize these as taking the subjunctive in amongst a list of tons of other phrases. You'd be shown these and you say, okay, these phrases take the subjunctive, go away and memorize them. But I'm going to give you a test now, and I want to see how many you get right without having studied them at all. Okay, so here they are. Es probable que, es mejor que, es obvio que, es evidente que, es importante que, más vale que. So I want you to go ahead and to just type in the ones that take the subjunctive. Okay, so if you think 1, 2, and 3 take the subjunctive, then just type in 1, 2, 3. Let me know which ones you think take the subjunctive. And as you're doing that, I'm just going to tell you what each of them are, just to be clear. So number 1, es probable que is it's probable or it's likely that. Number 2, es mejor que. This is like saying it would be better to. Number 3, es obvio que. This is saying it's obvious that. Number 4, es evidente que. It's evident that. Number 5, es importante que. It's important to. It's important that you. And then number 6, más vale que. Which is like a bit like number 2. It would be better to. So not all of these take the subjunctive. When you're looking at these, you've got to think, okay, which ones here are clear and unambiguous? Which ones of these are clearly true? And which ones have a hint of a doubt? Okay. Okay, so J.S. Miller, have a look at just some of the others and think about if you're saying them, is there any doubt in your mind at all? And okay, so Jeffrey, have a look at some of them and think, if you were to say them, are you certain? Are there any of these that if you said them, you would be certain or not? So Joanne says, actually, all are opinions. That's an interesting observation, and you're right. But here's the interesting thing about the subjunctive, Joanne. The subjunctive is something that we use as the speaker. And so whether we choose whether you choose the subjunctive or not, right? It's your own perception that makes it up. We'll go through these in a minute to be clear. Judy says, but aren't they all subjective? Well, some less than others, Judy. So for example, let's go through these now and have a look. Many of you have got the right combination there, but I can see that many of you think that it's only number 1, which is subjunctive. Okay, so let's go through these together. Es probable que. It's probable, it's likely. Is it certain? No, it's probable. So that would take the subjunctive. Next, es mejor que. So here is what you're saying. You're saying it would be better to do something. So because it's raining, it would be better to go by car or something. Now, is it certain that we will do that thing? Am I certain, even though I think it's a better idea, do I know that we're going to do it? Or is there an element of doubt there? Noreen says, I only started Spanish at Christmas, so I'm only really trespassing, so I get a sense of what's to come. Noreen, that's absolutely fine. That's a really good strategy, actually. Okay, so Robin says, no, it's not certain. Well, there's an element of doubt, isn't there? So Joanne as Joanne is saying here, and Robin is saying here, there's an element of doubt, right? Es mejor que. It would be better. I'm telling you, I think it would be better, but I don't know if you're going to do it. All right? So that's going to take the subjunctive. Now, this is where it gets interesting. So number 3, es obvio que. It's obvious that. Now, remember, the subjunctive is from the perspective of the speaker. Okay? So I'm the speaker, and I'm telling you, it's obvious that. It's obvious that. For example, we look out the window. The window is covered in raindrops. There are puddles all over the floor. It's obvious that it's raining. Now, again, you can conjure up some wild scenario in which actually that's just a special effect, and we're living in a parallel universe, and actually it's not raining. But that doesn't matter, because from the point of view of the speaker, it is obvious, unambiguous, there's no doubt, and so that doesn't take the subjunctive. Similarly with number 4, es evidente que. It's evident that. It's clear that. It's evidente. It's evident. It's evident that it's raining. The evidence is right in front of us. Is there any element of doubt in my mind? No. So that takes no subjunctive. So next, es importante que. Now this is interesting. So here we're saying it's important that you do something. But do I know that you're going to do it? However important I might think it is, can I be certain that you're actually going to do it? I can't, can I? And that's why we have to use a subjunctive. And then the last one, más vale que. Again, here I'm saying it would be better. It's better to do this. It's better to do that. I recommend we do that. It would be worth doing that. But again, there's no sense of whether or not you're actually going to do it, whether you're going to heed my advice or not. And so that takes the subjunctive. So let me know, how clear is this? Let me know how clear this is. So Kyle says, if the speaker is absolutely certain that something is mejor, can you avoid the subjunctive in that case? Yeah, so Kyle, as we're going to see a bit later, what you can actually do, you have the option to manipulate sentences in different ways. All right, so as the speaker, you've always got different options. And you can phrase things in different ways. So I think what you're getting at with your question is, are there exceptions? Are there cases where is this possible? And the answer is basically, yes, anything is possible. All right. But the key thing here is from the perspective of the speaker. What do you think? All right. And again, the reason that this approach is going to stick, because Noreen is saying here, she's following, but ask me tomorrow if it still sticks. Here's the thing, a simple concept like this, you won't forget. After this class, it's going to be impossible for you to go out and speak Spanish without thinking about whether or not the things that you're saying have an element of doubt or not. Okay. Whereas when you've got lists and lists of rules over an entire textbook, it's impossible to remember that stuff. So this is extremely powerful because it's going to sow that seed. And from that seed of understanding this concept of certainty or uncertainty, you're then going to go out into the world, you're going to practice Spanish and speak Spanish, and you're going to have a clear framework for deciding. All right? So we've covered commands, requests, and desires, possibility and doubts, and negation. So, shall we see if you've got it or not? So remember, there are there are some situations, I'll be completely clear with you, there are some situations which don't fall neatly into these categories. And in language learning, you're never going to be able to avoid, any mistake or anything. But this is going to work for you in 95% of situations, right? So let's see. Have a look at this little exchange here. When shall we go to the cinema? Whenever you want. So we're going to start applying this subjunctive rule more liberally now. All right, I'm going to give you a couple of little questions, and I want you to just take some wild guesses at what it's going to be. So let's start with this. When shall we go to the cinema? Whenever you want. ¿Cuándo vamos al cine? Type in the answer. 2 words. 2 words. And I want you to express this idea of uncertainty or doubt whenever, anytime. It doesn't matter to me. Anytime, whenever you want. How are you going to express that idea of uncertainty? Abdul Rahman's just entered. It's not the best time to enter, really, because we've covered a lot up to this point. We're doing a mix of the present and the past subjunctive. That's your answer. Okay, yeah, lots of great answers there. So if we just want to say you want, when you want, we say cuando quieres. That's fairly simple Spanish, right? Cuando quieres. But because I want to make it clear to the person I'm talking to that it's whenever you want, it's up to you. We change it, we say cuando quieras. Okay, so we put that verb in the subjunctive, and what that does is it gives this beautiful little flick, this beautiful little inflection. We change the E of quieres to the A of quieras. We put it into the subjunctive, and it turns what I say into this generous statement of whenever you want, anytime. It's up to you. Okay, let's try another one. Where do you want to eat? Yeah, wherever. It can be anywhere. ¿Dónde quieres comer? And the answer is, again, 2 words. Remember, this is not wherever you want. This is just wherever it may be. What are we going to say? Yeah, so Ronaldo, Robin, a few of you are saying donde quieras, but here we're simpler. We're going simpler here. We'll just say, yeah, wherever. Okay, a couple of good answers there. Of course, if you say donde quieras, that would also be fine. But I wanted to mix it up a little bit here. So donde sea. Yeah, wherever it may be, wherever, donde sea. So again, we're changing donde es, which is where it is, to donde sea, where it may be. So where do you want to eat? ¿Dónde quieres comer? Yeah. Wherever. Donde sea. So can you see the underlying uncertainty here? Can you see how we can just casually flick a verb into the subjunctive, and it just kicks up this mood of uncertainty? And the fact that we don't know where we're going to eat or when we're going to eat, it takes us firmly off the road of truth and into the subjunctive. Now, in this case, this is quite a cool little thing to remember, because in this case, this is equivalent to the English ever. So we say wherever, whoever, however, whenever, whatever. Can you see how these words in English here they have this inherent uncertainty to them? Wherever, I have no idea. Whoever, I have no idea. However, we don't know. And so we can do this, excuse me, we can do this instantly in Spanish just by putting a verb into the subjunctive. That's why Spanish is so cool. We have so much control with just like a flick of a verb. Excuse me, got a frog in my throat. So yeah, you can evoke this mood of uncertainty or possibility that just says so much by itself. That's why Spanish is often quite an economical language. You know, you need fairly few words to express a lot. So you can really play with this in your Spanish. Okay, the subjunctive is not something to be afraid of. It's something to embrace and to play with, and just to take this mood of uncertainty or doubt and just try to inject that into your Spanish whenever you want, because that's exactly how you learn. The subjunctive really is like the ultimate form of expression in Spanish, you know, and this is how you really mark your kind of departure from English and welcome yourself into the world of Spanish. So go out there and have fun with it. And the most important thing of all is, like, I know many of you are asking little questions about, well, what about in this case? What about in that case? What I would encourage you to do is not to worry about these exceptions, but take the view of, okay, I'm just going to go out there and have fun with this and experiment with this, because that's going to build your confidence. And if certain cases don't quite work, well, it's okay. The more you can kind of feel happy with a little bit of ambiguity, the better, because then you're just going to be able to embrace having fun with it. All right. So let's have a look at a few examples of what we just looked at in the real world, so you can see how this is used. So this is from Nacional. And here we've got an article from, well, it's a couple of years old now. And the headline here from Larry Rubin reads, Estados Unidos trabajará con quien sea electo presidente de México. So what he's saying is the United States, not the European Union, Estados Unidos, the United States will work with whoever is elected president of Mexico, con quien sea. Con quien sea. Estados Unidos trabajará con quien sea electo presidente de México. Okay, so can you see that this is the subjunctive in action, in real life? They don't know who is going to win the election. So rather than saying that they will work with el presidente de México, they have to say con quien sea, with whoever it may be. You notice that? Let's have a look at another example here. This is from an article about Uber. Now this one's interesting because we've got a couple of different examples of the subjunctive in here. So we've got, you see this headline at the top here? A donde sea que viajes, hay un Uber esperándote. So, a donde sea, wherever, to wherever, donde sea, wherever. Do you remember that from earlier? A donde sea, wherever it may be, que viajes, that you travel to, hay un Uber esperándote. So wherever it may be that you may travel to, there is an Uber waiting for you. A donde sea, to wherever, viajes, you may travel. Is that making sense? Any questions related to that, or is that clear enough? All right then. Let's end then, guys, with a little test. I want to see how much you've learned, and this should be the test for whether or not you have this has sunk in or not. Okay, so I'm going to give you 3 sentences here. Please, can you type your answers all in the same response, please? Otherwise, it's going to get very difficult for me to manage the responses. So I'd like you to just tell me the correct answer. You have to tell me whether it takes the subjunctive or not, and then if it does, then the verb. So we can do number 1 together. Mis padres me dicen que I go a la iglesia. So my parents tell me that I go to church. Now, my parents may tell me? They may tell me, but am I certainly going to go? No, they don't know. So we say, mis padres me dicen que vaya a la iglesia. Okay. Number 2. Go ahead and let me know what you think about this. Espero que mi amigo Juan me visits pronto. Espero que mi amigo Juan me visits pronto. So I hope my friend Juan visits me soon. And then number 3, estoy seguro de que la manzana something or is podrida, which is moldy or rotten. Estoy seguro de que la manzana something rotten, podrida. Okay. And again, you're asking yourself from the perspective of the speaker, is there any doubt or not about the thing that you're talking about? Let's see what we've got. Okay, so Claire's comment here, number 2 is subjunctive. Number 3, not. Fantastic. Yep. So that's right, Claire. Good job. So we've got espero que mi amigo Juan me visite, subjunctive, pronto. Because I hope that he's going to visit me, but I can't be sure, right? Now, number 3, estoy seguro de que la manzana es something podrida. I'm sure. Now, you could argue, well, Olly, it's not certain. And that's true. But from my perspective, the thing that I am saying, in my view, I am certain and there is no doubt. So, estoy seguro de que la manzana está podrida. Again, the key here is from my perspective. What do I believe? What does the speaker think? The subjunctive is a tool for the person who is speaking, okay? And one last one, and we'll finish with this. So, again, please write your answers all in one reply. Number 4, dudo que Olly arrives hoy. So I doubt that Olly arrives today. Number 5, mi equipo favorito is winning. Mi equipo favorito is winning or wins. My favorite team is winning. And then number 6, espero que él me buy chocolate. I hope he buys me chocolate. Dream on. So what do you think here, number 4, 5, and 6? Okay, Bill's got a question here. There's no doubt from the speaker's point of view in number 1 that his parents told him that he goes to church. Yes, that's true, Bill, but he is not giving an opinion there. He's reporting what has been said. Okay, so we're getting into a number of layers deep here, so it's probably not worth going that deep, but the basic point here is that he's reporting that his parents told him this. Okay, that's what it is. So let's have a look. So dudo que Olly llegar, to arrive, hoy. It is, of course, llegue, because we're not sure, right? We doubt that Olly arrives today, so we use the subjunctive. Mi equipo favorito is winning. Is there any doubt? No, so we say gana. And then number 6, espero que me something chocolate. Espero, I hope that he buys me chocolate. Espero que él me compre chocolate. All right. Good job, everyone. I'm really impressed. I'm really impressed with how well you've kept. I know it's a lot to keep up, and we've covered a lot of stuff here. So Abdurrahman says, fifth one, we are using exclamation, so it makes it subjunctive. No, not in this case. No, even though it's exclamation, you're exclaiming a fact, so there's no subjunctive with that one. So anyway, let's recap what we've read. So the subjunctive, it's a mood that you can evoke above all to convey the fact that you're leaving the realm of objective truth and certainty. Okay, and we've covered 3 times when that typically happens: commands, requests and desires, possibility and doubts, negation. Now, although there are some other occasions that you might use the subjunctive, and we haven't gone into every little exception here, what you've learned here will enable you to get the subjunctive right virtually every time. Okay, and what is the most important thing here, even if you still have some unresolved questions or some slight doubts, the really important thing is that you understand now the underlying concept that native speakers use when they think of when they're speaking Spanish. Okay, so let's see whether I've achieved my aim or not. I promised you will gain a native-like understanding of the subjunctive in Spanish, such that you know exactly when to use it, for what purpose, and without the need for rules. Now, I know you haven't. There are still going to be exceptions and little doubts there. But what do you think? How close did I get to giving you, I guess, at least the confidence that you have begun to understand exactly what the subjunctive is and what it's about, and a basis for you to make your decisions? How close did we get to that? Emma says, amazing. Thank you so much, Olly. Josh says, very cool. Thanks. You're welcome. And again, any criticisms or comments, feel free to post those as well, because I always like to learn from those. Kyle says, excellent lesson, gracias. You're very welcome. Thanks, guys. I appreciate that. So as you continue your studies in Spanish, you will learn, you'll learn a few more exceptions. You'll tighten up your verb conjugations, etc. But you now get the most important stuff. Okay, so this way of teaching, this is what I'm trying to do here, is basically show you the most important stuff that I've learned about Spanish from my experience of going from a zero beginner to fairly highly fluent in the language. And learning in this kind of way from someone who's actually done it, in my opinion, is the best way to learn Spanish, because you get to take advantage of someone else's epiphany, someone else's hard work, so that you can kind of focus on only the most important concepts in Spanish and then ignore all the other stuff that doesn't matter. In my view, most language teaching is just spending time on stuff that doesn't matter. So that's what I try to fix. And this whole class has really just been a sample of everything that goes on inside a Spanish community that I run, that is specifically for intermediate level learners, helping them become fluent in Spanish. So that probably means if you felt that you benefited from this class, then you're in around that bracket. So what I'd like to do is a Q&A. I'd like to just open this up to questions, so that if you have any unresolved questions from the class, I can answer that. But first, I thought it would be nice just to take a minute to tell you a little bit about this Spanish community that I have, because if you enjoyed this class and you'd like more like this, more training like this, to master Spanish grammar and other areas of Spanish, then I think it would be for you. So would that be all right if I just take a minute to tell you about this before we get to the Q&A? Just go ahead and let me know if that's okay. My throat's absolutely parched today. I've been talking all day. Okay, so a few of you say, yeah, okay, great. So it's called the Fluent Spanish Academy, and it's a private community that's run by me for people who are stuck at an intermediate level of Spanish or wanting to punch above that level, to help them break through and become fluent. I'll tell you all about what's inside, and then I'm also going to give you details of a special bonus package that I've created just for people who are here on this live class today. Now, there is a lot of stuff in the academy. We've been building it for years now, but there are a few major things that you get as an Academy member. Now, when you're at intermediate level, to reach fluency, you need to immerse yourself as much as possible because there is a lot to learn. And the gap from intermediate to advanced is actually much bigger than the gap from beginner to intermediate. Okay. Now, the problem is that native material is too hard. You've tried to watch movies and read books before, and it's too hard, right? And this is where the Fluent Spanish Academy comes in, because it's pitched exactly here in this gap between intermediate and advanced. And we create material and training that lands exactly here, right? So this is the member area with all the different areas and material that we have. When you first join the Academy, you begin with an orientation course, which is actually has now been upgraded from what you see here. It's a full video course where I tell you all about, I teach you about what it means to be at the intermediate level and the techniques and strategies you need to break through that. I also give you lots of activities to get used to all the material that's in the Academy. We have weekly classes. So you have all of these, we have, again, dozens and dozens of these weekly classes. And what these are, this is, me and Angela, who's my Spanish co-host in the Academy. And what we have here is dialogues that we've created that are based on real Spanish. So real conversations that you'll find out there in the real world. And what we do is we read these dialogues to you, and then we break them down and we teach you the language that's going on. We give you explanations for some tricky grammar so that from these, what you learn is real Spanish phrases that are spoken on the street. Okay, so nothing from the textbook, nothing from I don't know, from the dictionary or whatever. This is real Spanish that you're actually going to use. And many people sort of comment that they learn things from one of these weekly classes and then they hear it immediately the next day, because we focus on really practical stuff there. So also with these you have the audio and you also have the full notes that go along with it. Listening comprehension training. This is where we start to get into the immersion material. So with the Academy, what you get is a huge library of material that is recorded conversations with native speakers. So what Angela sits down with native speakers from all over the Spanish-speaking world, Mexico, Colombia, Spain, Argentina, and she has conversations with these people on very common daily topics. And we break it down so it's not too long, and then we provide full transcripts so that you can listen to the conversations and follow along every single word that is spoken. And then we have word lists at the end, so there's any vocabulary that you don't know, you can look it up very quickly without having to waste time with a dictionary. And so what this does is it enables you to actually start to listen to as much real Spanish as you have time for. And then because you can follow it along with the transcript, this is the foundation of improving your listening comprehension so that you can understand native speakers much more easily and take part in conversations. The next thing we have is a large collection of grammar-focused stories. Now, these are these are short stories which are written to focus on different grammar points. So what you see here, for example, is an example of a story that is written to focus on the subjunctive. Líder is the name of the story. And so we have a whole host of things here to help you out. So you begin with the story, and what you'll find is that this story contains lots of examples of the subjunctive so that you get natural exposure to it. We have the full audio narration, so you listen along. And then what we do is we give you these exercises like the one you can see in the corner here, where you're going to have to reconstruct the story yourself using that grammar point, a little bit like the exercises we did today in this class. And so this really gives you the most natural way of getting used to how the grammar works and then getting immediate feedback on how well you've understood it. So we have dozens of these on lots of different grammar points. We also have a huge library of live training. Now this is live training that I've done for members on all different kinds of topics. Like the one you can see here, for example, is memory techniques. So I'm showing you how the techniques that I use to memorize vocabulary. We've done training before on past tense, on ser versus estar. It's a lot like the class you're listening to right now. Actually, this is what these live trainings are all about, and there's a big library of those. And with each of these live trainings, you're also given a study pack so you can go off and study that particular aspect of language learning more deeply if you choose. We also have lots of other things like recommended Spanish movies and TV series and stuff like that, just to keep it fun. In our Facebook group, this is one of the best parts of the Academy. And what Angela does is, so Angela is live in the group a couple of times a week. And what she does is she comes in and she'll teach you idioms. So we use the Facebook group mostly for teaching and learning idioms, because everyone loves learning idioms in Spanish because they're just fun to use and they're very expressive. So for example, she'll post you an idiom like this one, buscarle tres pies al gato. And then you have to guess what that is. And she'll give you a sample dialogue here. So you can read a dialogue so that you've got this idiom in context. And then what happens is later on in the week, she comes in with a live video and she will explain the idiom and how it works. And it's lots of, this is a more light-hearted side of it, so it's just lots of fun, but lots of regular contact with Spanish, because Angela does these sessions in Spanish. She's teaching you Spanish idioms. So hopefully what you can see from this is that it is tailor-made immersion material for the intermediate level so that you can learn fast and effectively at your level. We've really gone all out to create, well, I mean, this is the material that I wish I had when I was learning Spanish, so that I could just get on with learning. I didn't have to, just waste all this time searching for stuff and wondering what material was best for me to use, and have it all in one place. But you also get lots of other things. For example, coaching and guidance from me in the Facebook group, or trainings like this. You have a very friendly, supportive community of Spanish learners as well in the Facebook group, so that you don't feel alone in your learning, and you have lots of other people around the world who are going through exactly the same thing. It is, in many ways, it's that support that you get from other people that really keeps you going, because when you lose motivation, it can be very tricky to study. You also get answers to all your questions, advice and recommendations, all the great things that come when you've got a friendly, supportive community of other Spanish learners around. So I've done everything that I possibly could to make this everything you need to become fluent in Spanish the fast way, in one place. And I'm very, very proud of what we've made here. And many people, I think, who join us, they say, they've been trying to learn Spanish for such a long time, but it is the combination of community and the motivation and the materials and the expertise, everything that we put into the Academy, that really makes the difference for them. And then so this is why we get comments like this, or Peter, for example, who says here, I've just completed 2 of your short stories from the Academy, and it's an incredible feeling when you read a story in another language. He goes on to say, I have to say, Olly, I feel like I've won the jackpot coming across. I will teach you a language. Thank you, Peter. I appreciate that. So if you find that you freeze up when you speak because you don't know how to reply properly, if you can't understand natural spoken Spanish by real people or in groups, because you don't practice listening in the right way, if you can't speak with accurate grammar because you haven't learned grammar naturally, if you're frustrated by a lack of expression in Spanish because you're not learning the way that people really speak, if these are things that you can relate to, then the Academy is designed for you. Now, I'm sure you're wondering about the price of the Academy, and obviously this is a bit different from the usual model of hiring a teacher by the hour. And if you're an independent learner, then the fact is it's far more valuable, because you have access to the Academy 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And if I don't know what private lessons cost these days, but you can easily spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars a month on private lessons, thousands and thousands a year. And so when you think of it in those terms, that's why the Fluent Spanish Academy really is unbeatable value at what it is. So let me give you an overview of the pricing for the Academy. Monthly pricing is very affordable. It's $35 a month. So it's cheaper than a than a lesson with a teacher, all about the same price, more or less. And then if you take an annual membership, you get 3 months free. And like I said, I've got some special bonuses that I'll tell you about in just a minute. And there are no contracts. You can cancel at any time. We're very transparent in that way. So just to put this in perspective, if you took an annual option for the Academy, it works out at 86 cents a day, which is about 69p for those of you in the UK. So for under $1 a day, hopefully you'd agree that this is at least worth a shot to see if this is going to work for you. And let me tell you about the special bonuses that I've got here. So first of all, fast action bonus number 1. Now these bonuses here are especially for people who want to get started right away, because I always value people who are action takers and who are keen to get started. So these bonuses. You can join the Academy anytime, but these bonuses I'm going to tell you about here are especially for people who would like to join today on this class, to say thank you to you for being here and for getting involved. And so the first bonus is a Master the Subjunctive 30-day study pack. So we've been learning the subjunctive here today. You've got a great framework to go off and start to practice now. What this does is it gives you something specific to do every day to make sure that you actually put this into practice. So what you're going to have here is it's a pack where you have to go through and you read, you try hard to understand what's going on, and then you have to fill in the correct, choose whether the verb is in the subjunctive or not, and then fill it in. And so these are all divided up by daily tasks. So you have a full 30 days worth of subjunctive practice here, which is going to make sure that you not only know how to use the subjunctive, but actually get proper practice and get used to using it. The second bonus that's coming today, this is only for the people who take the annual membership, and it's also only for the first 10 people. I can only do a maximum of 10 of these, so these will expire after 10 people. And this is a free consultation call with me, and you can use this anytime within 12 months. I very rarely do these, but I've decided it would be nice to do that for you guys. And so what we'll do is we will get on the phone or on Skype or something like that, and then we will spend as long as we need to really dive into your Spanish, talk about how you've been learning up to this point, the things that have been working for you, the things that haven't, and then I'm going to set out a plan of action for you, a personalized plan of action, so that you know exactly what to do with your Spanish, so that you can really make the most of not only the material in the Academy, but also in the next few months, because you really can transform your Spanish in quite a short amount of time. As long as you learn to focus on the right things, like what we've been doing today with the subjunctive. So a quick reminder of what you get. It's the live training with me. It's a community forum. It's the weekly Spanish classes, the listening comprehension training, the short stories. And again, this is for you, whatever variety of Spanish you're learning, because we have a big mix of material from all over the Spanish speaking world. Okay, so you get, if you join monthly, then it's $35 a month, and you get the subjunctive Spanish pack included. And if you join annually, you get 3 months free. You also get the subjunctive study pack, and you get a free consultation call with me, which is always lots of fun. But today it gets even better, because we are in the middle of a trial promotion right now, which is actually quite special and much better than what you see on the screen here. So what we're actually running at the moment, and I don't know how long we're going to keep this up for, but it is currently live, is a lifetime membership. So rather than paying $315 for a year, you actually get a lifetime membership for only $297. So it's actually cheaper, and you get full lifetime access to the Academy. So like I said, I don't know how long we're going to keep doing this for, but currently that is what is on offer. So again, if you would like to join with that option, then you get lifetime membership. plus all of the bonuses and the consultation call with me. And that is what is on offer today. So if you would like to take me up on this, then I'm going to put a button up on the screen right now, which you should be able to click, and that will take you through to a page rather, where you can select whether you'd like to join monthly or the lifetime membership, and then you click that button, and that will take you through to an order form where you can get started. You get instant access to the Academy member area once you do, and yeah, we're all waiting for you on the inside. So those are the options. Again, if you have any questions about this, please go ahead and type them in. We're going to get to the Q&A in just a minute. So if you are committed, if you're dedicated to learning Spanish, to not being stuck at this intermediate plateau forever, but moving on to becoming advanced and fluent in the language, let me show you how. Don't do this by yourself. Come and join the community. It's everything you need to stay motivated to break through that plateau in Spanish and become fluent in the language. Courtney, one of our most successful students, says, I learned more in 9 months than in 6 years at school. Robert said, 16 months ago, I could only speak with somebody for 30 seconds in Spanish, but thanks to Olly, I can now have a conversation for an hour plus in Spanish. Thank you, Robert. So if you feel that your vocabulary is okay, you lack precision and you overuse the same words, if you struggle to understand when you're reading, if you find that you're losing your motivation over and over, if you can't find material that's right for you, if you've maybe even begun to doubt whether you're capable of speaking Spanish fluently, then the Academy is for you, and I'd love to help you. Again, click the button on the screen, or else you can open up a new browser window and you can type in the address that's at the bottom of the screen, which is iwillteachyoualanguage.com/class offer. Again, a quick reminder of everything that's inside. You have monthly membership for $35 a month, including the subjunctive study pack as a bonus. And also, for a limited time, you have a lifetime membership. It's only $297. And for that, you get lifetime membership, you get the subjunctive study pack, and a call with me where we'll get on Skype and talk through your Spanish journey. So that's all there. Any questions you have, please go ahead and type them in. Questions about the Fluent Spanish Academy, also questions about the subjunctive, because that's what we've been talking about. I'm happy to stay on for as long as you would like to answer these questions for you. I'm just going to take a sip of water here, and then as soon as you've had a chance to type in the questions, I'll come back and answer every single one. So thanks for sticking with me through that, and that took a little bit longer than I expected. Okay, let's go through here and see what questions we have. Get anything at all, feel free to ask away. Emma says, is there enough material on your FSA to last me a lifetime? Well, Emma, it very much depends on you. The thing is, okay, here's the thing about the Academy. My aim as a teacher in the Academy is for you not to need the Academy anymore. That's my aim, because once I can get you to a point where you can start to read and listen to authentic material in Spanish, then you don't need me anymore. So I consider my job done. If you can graduate, if you like, and start to enjoy real material in Spanish without any support needed. And if you can already do that, by the way, then you don't need the Academy. Okay? If you can already read books with no problem, watch TV and understand everything, then you don't need the Academy. This is for people who want to get to that stage. Is there enough material in the Academy itself to last you a full lifetime? I don't think so. But there's certainly an awful lot, and it will. What there is more than enough to get you to your goal, and that's what we aim to do. So Joanne says, can the course be done on a tablet? Yeah, absolutely. I would say that it is easier to use on a desktop, but it works perfectly well on a tablet, especially with things like the short stories, for example, and the the listening comprehension with the transcripts. It's actually quite comfortable to sit and read on a tablet. Again, so Joanne says, does the intermediate course include conjugations of verbs? Yeah, so Joanne, we don't tend to focus on this stuff, right? Because the conjugations of verbs, these are the things that actually are best learned naturally. If you try to go off and memorize conjugations of verbs like textbooks try to get you to do, what happens is that you tie yourself in knots trying to remember all these endless conjugations. The way to master verb conjugations is to start to spend your time reading and listening to Spanish that you can understand. Then what happens is those verb conjugations start to sound natural. Okay, so our approach to raising your level is actually to say, right, we're going to stop focusing so much on grammar and verb conjugations, and we're going to get you doing the things that we know are going to help you learn that stuff naturally. Okay, so in the academy, you won't find lessons on verb conjugations and things like that. If that's what you want, you've got plenty of textbooks that can teach you that stuff. What's important to understand is that kind of study behavior, endlessly going over grammar exercises, verb conjugations, it doesn't work. It doesn't get you the fluency that you're looking for. Dennis says, your Spanish short storybooks has some mistakes. Oh no, is there an errata list somewhere? Yes, are you referring to the new versions, Dennis, the teach yourself versions? If so, yes, we are. We collect lists of errors as they go through. If you have, what I would say, that if you have an early version, if you bought the book shortly after it came out, then the chances are that those have already been spotted. Because we have various print runs, so the publishers, they will print, say, 500 books at a time, and then they'll print they'll do another print run with corrections made, and so if you bought the book some time ago, then it's probably been fixed. But still, if you have a list, feel free to email it to me, and I would be very grateful for that. Emma says, where does it mention the one-to-one call on the website? Good question. Maybe it doesn't, Emma. I'm not completely sure whether it does mention it on the website, but it is, you will get that. So don't worry. Heather says, do you explain when to use para and por on your FSA? Yes, we do. So today the class has been on the subjunctive, but we have lessons also on ser and estar, on por and para, on, what else do we have? We have past tenses, all these different grammar points. We have lessons just like this on there. So if you enjoyed the class today, there is lots more like this on similar grammar areas inside the academy. Nancy says, how much time a day does it take? There's no prescription here, Nancy. It really is, it's a case of the more the better, So I would say generally, as a general rule to people, you really should be spending at least 30 minutes a day. My ideal would be an hour a day. You don't really need much more than that, though. If you're spending an hour a day doing effective activities, and that's the key. If you're spending an hour a day doing effective activities with your Spanish, then you will improve. There is no doubt. I think a lot of the time people spend lots of time doing ineffective things, and that's the problem. So if you spend 30 minutes to an hour a day on the material in the academy, you would get results very quickly. Mark says, what if I'm intermediate but need more practice speaking? Will I have an opportunity to speak with others in the academy? So Mark, no, the academy is not, it's not a speaking practice platform. Okay, and the reason is that that's not something we can provide. I think for an intermediate learner, there are two things you need to do at intermediate, right? You have to practice speaking a lot, but you also have to really study a lot. And that study should be in immersion type activities. You've got to do those two things. I can't offer the speaking side of stuff, so I choose to focus on the other side, which in my view is actually more powerful and easier to do, because it's always difficult to go out and find the time to speak to people, right? To get that practice. And depending on your life situation, it may be, you may not practically be able to spend a lot of time speaking to people, and that's okay. Because let's say, okay, you don't do a lot of Spanish speaking, but you do study like a madman for, say, 6 months to a year. That is time well spent, because you're going to learn so much in that time that when you come to speak later, that you can just use everything that you've learned. So what I focus on is actually giving you the input, the material, the education, the learning that you need. But then you're absolutely right. What you will also have to do at some point, not necessarily right away, but at some point, is to go out and to speak a lot. Hope that clarifies, but feel free to follow up if that's not totally clear. Dennis says 2016 Orange Book. Okay. Yeah, so Dennis, actually, we recently released a brand new version. I've collaborated with Teach Yourself, who are a very famous language publisher, to release a new updated version of the book. And that should be error-free. I know in the original there were a few mistakes. Those have all been corrected now. Heather says, do you have this one-time payment offer until Sunday? Yes, we do. Heather, yes, we do. The bonuses themselves are just for people on this call, but the lifetime membership option, yeah, well, that will still be available. Sure. Emma says, I've just purchased, so how do I organize a call with you? Emma, I will send you out an email, and that will give you instructions where you can book a time. It's a very, very simple system we have, so you can choose a convenient time for you. Robin says, es realmente para estudiantes intermedios. He hecho clases para los intermedios en el pasado y han sido bajo de mi nivel. Entiendo mucho, pero me panico cuando hablo y necesito ampliar mi vocabulario. Well, Robin, I can't speak to what you've done before, because that could be a number of things. Often I find that apps and things like and textbooks and things, when they say intermediate, is actually really simple. The stuff that if you are straight down the line intermediate level, then there's no question that the stuff in the academy will be perfect for you, even possibly slightly challenging. So I would not have any doubt about that. But if you are a higher level intermediate, I mean, it really depends. Without knowing your level, it's very difficult for me to say. But what we focus on is giving large amounts of material for input. So we've got lots of reading material, lots of listening material, and this is extensive stuff. One of the listening comprehension training conversations, for example, is 15 minutes long. And it's broken up into 3 parts to make it doable. But you've got 15 minutes of conversation there with a long transcript, and so that is not. I would not call that easy or bajo de nivel. But the only thing I can't be sure of is your level. So that's the only thing. But we have many students who identify as being at an intermediate level of Spanish, and I've never had anybody tell me that it's too easy. Nancy says, will I be fluent? Nancy, I cannot. If anybody guarantees you that you will be fluent, I would run a mile. I can't guarantee that, Nancy, because I can't do the learning for you. What I can tell you is that what we offer in the academy is everything that you need to get there, with the exception of large amounts of speaking practice. But I can't make promises about what you will learn, because that is ultimately down to you and how much you can commit to it. Heather says, is there some kind of structure in your FSA, like start with this and continue with that? Not as such, no. And the reason is, Heather, that, again, I know this is what people look for. They look for structure, but the whole point of the academy is we're moving away from this lesson 1, lesson 2, lesson 3 mentality. The path to becoming fluent in Spanish is not to go through more lessons. The path is to immerse yourself in Spanish so that you can learn the whole of the language. Okay, so the way that the academy works is much more about giving you the exposure that you need, and building your study habits so that you do the things that are going to raise your level. They're going to make you more fluent. But it's not a kind of lesson 1, lesson 2, lesson 3, because think about it this way: if that worked, everybody would be fluent, right? What the academy is based on all my experience of learning and teaching languages, what you most need and what's most going to help you get to the higher levels. Robin says B2. Okay, well, listen, Robin. Again, if you are confident that you're B2, and you can comfortably, read a novel in Spanish, for example, you can comfortably watch TV and understand the majority of what you're listening to, then in that case, you may find the academy slightly on the easy side. That's a possibility. It's very difficult for me to say beyond that. But I hope that gives you some kind of idea. Okay, those are all the questions. Thank you very much, everybody. Muchísimas gracias por estar aquí conmigo hoy. One last question from Hedda. She says, is your FSA Spanish, or American Spanish? It's everything. We have a huge mix of material inside. So for example, Angela, who I work with in the academy, she's actually from Spain. But for example, for the listening training, she has conversations with people from all over South America and Spain as well. So you get an exposure to all different kinds of Spanish and Spanish accents. And that what that does is this makes you into a very versatile Spanish speaker, so that you're not just, it won't be the case that you can just survive in Mexico and then you don't understand anything else. You'll be able to understand Spanish from all different countries, all different accents, dialects, and varieties. Thanks, everybody. I really appreciate it. Thank you for being here and being so responsive. I hope you enjoyed the class. And if you have any questions, feel free to drop me an email. You can reply to any of the emails that I've sent, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Once again, if you'd like to take advantage of the lifetime membership and all of these bonuses, then be my guest. Please click the button on the screen. That will take you to where you need to go. And nos vemos en la próxima clase. Bueno, adiós.